Franz Schubert was born on January 31, 1797, in Vienna, Austria, into a humble family. His father, Franz Theodor Schubert, was a school teacher, and his mother, Elizabeth, took care of their home and children. Franz was the 12th child in a family of 14. However, not all of his siblings lived to adulthood, which made the family experience a lot of sadness. Despite these difficult circumstances, Franz's family supported his love of music. From a young age, Franz showed a natural talent for music, and his parents decided to encourage him to pursue it. Franz started playing the violin and later learned to play the piano. He showed such great promise that his father enrolled him in a school called the Stadtkonvikt, where he could receive a better education and further develop his musical abilities. There, Franz studied music and also learned subjects like Latin, mathematics, and literature. However, Franz's passion for music grew even more, and he found that he preferred music to the other subjects he was learning. At the Stadtkonvikt, Franz became friends with other students who loved music. Together, they would often play music and talk about composers and new musical ideas. Franz was particularly influenced by the works of famous composers like Mozart and Beethoven, but he also began to develop his own style. By the time he was 16, he had already composed a number of pieces, including some beautiful songs and chamber music. After leaving the Stadtkonvikt, Franz did not have an easy life. He had to work as a school teacher to make money, but he did not enjoy teaching. Instead, his true passion was composing music. Franz spent as much time as he could writing music, often staying up late into the night. He would compose symphonies, piano pieces, and songs, many of which were inspired by nature, love, and the emotions people feel. Despite his talent, Franz didn't make much money from his music during his lifetime. Many of his compositions were not performed in public or heard by a wide audience. One of the most important aspects of Franz Schubert's music is his ability to write beautiful songs or lieder. His songs were different from other songs of his time. While other composers often focused on the music itself, Franz made sure the words and music worked together perfectly. The words of his songs were often poetry, and he matched the music to the feeling of the words. He could express sadness, happiness, love, and longing with just a few simple chords and notes. Some of his most famous songs include Avenue Maria and the Trout die Forelle. Franz's songs were mostly written for solo voice and piano. These songs often told stories, and the music helped to paint pictures in the minds of the listeners. His song cycle Winterreise, Winter Journey is one of the most famous works he ever composed. In this cycle, the singer tells the story of someone who is heartbroken and lost in a winter landscape. The music is emotional and beautiful, and it captures the sadness and longing of the character. Franz wrote over 600 songs in his lifetime, and they remain some of the most important works in classical music. Even though Franz Schubert was not famous during his lifetime, he had a small group of friends who were musicians and who loved his music. These friends often performed his works, but they did not have the means to spread his music to a larger audience. Franz was not interested in fame. He only wanted to create music that was meaningful and true to his heart. He was not focused on making money or becoming famous like some other composers of his time. Instead, he focused on writing music that would express his feelings and thoughts. Franz's music was often very personal. It was not always easy for him to express his emotions in words, but through his music, he could say everything he needed to. He composed music about things that were important to him, like nature, love, and the feeling of longing. His music was full of feelings that many people could relate to, which is why it is still loved by audiences today. One of Franz's most famous works is his unfinished symphony, Symphony No. 8. This symphony is called unfinished because Franz wrote only 2 movements before he stopped composing it. We don't know exactly why he never finished it, but some people believe he was too ill to continue working on it. The 2 movements that he wrote are beautiful, and the symphony remains one of his most famous works. It is often performed in concert halls today, and many listeners are moved by its emotional depth. Franz Schubert also wrote a number of symphonies. His Symphony No. 9 in C major, also known as the Great Symphony, is one of his most well-known symphonic works. This symphony is full of energy, excitement, and passion, and it is often performed by large orchestras. It shows Franz's ability to create powerful and moving music. Many musicians believe that this symphony is one of the greatest symphonies ever composed. In addition to symphonies and songs, Franz Schubert wrote a lot of chamber music. This type of music is written for small groups of instruments, like string quartets or piano trios. Franz's String Quartet in D minor is one of the most famous works in this category. It is known for its dramatic and emotional quality. Chamber music allows musicians to work closely together, and Franz was very skilled at writing music that sounded beautiful when played by small groups. His chamber music continues to be loved by musicians and audiences around the world. Although Franz was an incredibly talented composer, he struggled with health problems and financial difficulties throughout his life. He did not have much money, and his music was not widely performed. In fact, he often relied on the support of his friends and family to survive. Franz was a very humble person and never sought fame or wealth. He composed music because it was his true passion. Sadly, Franz Schubert did not live a long life. He fell ill when he was just 31 years old. It is believed that he suffered from syphilis, a disease that caused his health to decline rapidly. Despite his illness, Franz continued to write music. He passed away on November 19, 1828, at the young age of 31. However, in the short time that he lived, Franz Schubert had already composed hundreds of pieces of music, many of which would become famous and beloved for generations. After his death, people began to recognize Franz Schubert's talent. More and more musicians began to perform his music, and soon, his works were celebrated around the world. Today, Franz Schubert is considered one of the greatest composers in history. His music is still performed in concert halls and listened to by millions of people. His songs are sung by choirs and soloists, and his symphonies and chamber music are played by orchestras. Franz Schubert's legacy continues to inspire composers, musicians, and listeners alike. His music is timeless, and it speaks to the heart. Even though he did not achieve fame during his lifetime, his music is now known and loved by people all over the world. His life and work show that passion, hard work, and creativity can leave a lasting impact, even if fame does not come in the lifetime of the creator. Franz Schubert's music is a reminder that music has the power to express emotions, tell stories, and connect people across time and space. His melodies, harmonies, and lyrics continue to inspire generations of musicians and listeners, and his legacy as a great composer will never be forgotten.